You want to illustrate these?
Yeah. And we win.
I'm recording right now.
Okay, this yellow flower here, right here, starts off and turns into this little goat head right here. Then, once it dries, it'll start turning this color here, meaning it's getting ready to dry. Once it does dry and fall off the plant, it'll be this little dauber right here. You can see the little spine on it right here. There's 2 spines. Actually, there's 3, 4 spines on it. Then it'll turn into this little thing that's hanging off my finger. This little guy that hangs off my finger, if you step down on it hard enough, that spine will break off in your foot, in your heel. It'll be sore for 2, maybe 3 weeks until you can finally get that spine out of there. And then every once in a while you'll have this, you'll step wrong and step where that spine was at, and you'll get that twinge of pain again. But there ain't nothing in there. This also will flatten any bicycle tire you have, unless you've got that green goop in it or any other kind of stuff in it to keep it from flattening out. These are called goat heads or puncture vine. Puncture vine is the key word, but us Americans, we deemed it goat head because it's got a lot of the thorns on it, which, like a goat, it will hurt you when it pokes you or butts you or whatever. But this little thing here on my finger, as you can see, it's been on there for about a minute, 2 minutes, and I barely touched it into my finger. I don't feel it, but it's there, as you can see. It doesn't take much to knock it off. That's what it does when it falls off the vine when you go to pull the vine out. The best time to pull these puncture vine is when you either have a flower or don't have a flower, or when it's green like this. That means it's still going to stay on the plant. As you can see, the puncture vine also has a long root to it. The best way to pull this up out of the ground is, you see this knuckle right here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vines coming off of it. Best way to do it is put your fingers around that knuckle, get your thumb and middle finger or whatever finger you got, base to the ground, and pull. That way, if you get this much of a root out of it, it's going to alleviate a long time before it gets back up out of the ground. But if you can get all the root out of it, out of the ground, then your puncture vine's not going to come out.
Well, you said you also need to get rid of the goat heads.
Right.
And when they're dry like that, you said that, burning them, can you rake them up? Is there a tool for being able to gather them all up?
Okay, if you rake this, if you wait till the vine itself dies, you're going to have probably 30 to 50 per vine that's going to be dead. The only way to get rid of them is to burn them. If you rake them, you're going to spread them. Once these little guys here spread and they crack open, after they dry and they crack open.
So that's the seed.
That's a seed.
That's the seed of all evil.
That starts another puncture vine. But if you rake this, say if you only have 10 plants here in this area and you rake it, you're going to have 1,000. So trying to get rid of this, as you can remember, Mom and Grandma, what did they do all the time? Where were they at? Out there in that pasture, bent over like I am, pulling puncture vine. That's the only way they knew because if they got down on their hands and knees, they could easily have one of those little burrs in their knees, knees, shins. So their best bet for pulling this puncture vine out, this here is a baby one. Their best bet was to just bend over and pull. There's another little baby one. So you always saw Mom and Grandma out there like this, in the field or the pasture, bent over just like this, pulling out that massive root of a puncture vine. Now, Mom and Grandma, they'd have puncture vines that were this big, like yay big out there. But it takes up to 30 to 45 days for them to die.
And then they turn all into goat heads. They dry out and everything's goat heads.
And then your whole pasture becomes a goat head pasture. So as kids, We couldn't go running around out there in that pasture without stepping on a darn goat head. They were okay until they turned dry. Once they turned dry, you didn't run out there barefoot.
How far does this thing of goat heads go? Show me the boundaries of it.
What do you mean the boundary? Oh,
Yeah, how far does it go? I mean,
always the fence.
is it confined where the railroad ties were? It's not out here. It's not out
That's
here.
what it looks like. It looks where your railroad tie used to be, right here. I don't see any out there in the grass. I see a lot of button vines out there in the grass. Here's one here. One here. You just got to be able to know what the heck you're looking for. Basically, this is all just mainly button vine. Here's another one right here. There's another one right. No, that's one right there. One right here. See, now these are just babies out here.
Well, I wonder if with the ground this wet, with it all saturated like that, if that torch would work without.
No, the ground would have to be dry in order for the torch to work, because basically what you're doing is you're just burning what's on top. If the ground was dry, then once you torch that plant,
The undergrowth.
it can go down through and hit the root and burn off the root. It's just like when we were doing the rose bushes over there. Best thing on that, when we were doing the rose bushes over there, was we should have, there's a spray paint out there which is called pruning stuff. I don't know the name of it. It's called pruning something, but you spray it on there or you paint it on that.
See.
Where you just
We weren't watching where we were going.
Yeah, where you just chopped off the underneath the ground, where you chop the stuff up underneath the ground. You spray that on there, and then no suckers are going to come back up out of the ground.
It basically smothers them off. They can't get oxygen, right?
Right.
Or water.
Now see, here's another puncture vine here. Another one here. Now see, your tie line is over there. And I'm still pulling puncture vine up out of your main lawn. All these other things here are called button vines. And these button vines are also a ground cover that spreads and it will overtake your lawn. Your best bet is to pull all them out as well.
Before reseeding. I mean, otherwise, if you got ground cover, that keeps the moisture in the ground, right?
It does, but it also chokes out your grass. Now see, somebody has spread this puncture weed out here into your lawn. So somewhere along the lines, this yard got raked and puncture vine got spread clear out here. Now that could have been before DD got moved in.
No names.